Hi Brawlers, is again your game host manager, ready to share with you another epic character from Eternal Brawl. But first, have you watched our previous video about the terrifying demon in Eternal Brawl? If you haven't, I advise you to check out the video on Annabelle if you don't want her coming after you tonight and possessing you. I'm joking, but anyhow, make sure to share some love and share it with your friends. And I also want to remind you that to be able to summon all these amazing characters from our game, you need to have summoning stones. We are still on our pre-sale, so you better get them now before the prices keep increasing and the pre-sale ends. So head over to eternalbrawl.io and grab your stones today. And as the Halloween season continues, today I am introducing to you a character from the monster category. Ladies and gentlemen, Frankenstein. Frankenstein's monster or Frankenstein's creature, often referred to as simply Frankenstein, is a fictional character who first appeared in Mary Shelley's 1880 novel called Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus. Shelley compared the creator of Frankenstein, called Victor Frankenstein, to the mythological character Prometheus, who was a character who built humans out of clay and gave them fire. Now, Victor Frankenstein created this monster over a 2-year period through an ambiguous method experimented in his attic in his boarding house, which had become his scientific laboratory. Now, he did this after discovering a scientific principle that said that he could create life out of non-living matter. However, Victor was terrified and disgusted from his creation, so he fled in horror and left Frankenstein in the laboratory. Frankenstein was an 8-foot-tall monster, full of hideous contrasts. I mean, his features were beautiful and his limbs were in proportion. Beautiful? I wish I could say that was true, but no. His yellowish-greenish skin barely covered his limbs and his arteries. But his hair was long, black, shiny, and flowy. He also had black lips, and he had very shiny white teeth. But that actually made it worse because they were very different from his watery eyes, who were similar in color to the dun white sockets in which they were set. Basically, Frankenstein is described as being shriveled. His complexion was shriveled, which means wrinkly, just withered and dry. Frightened and unaware of his own identity, Frankenstein wandered into the wilderness and attempted to fit into human society. He ended up finding comfort next to a cottage in a remote location where an old blind man and his 2 children lived. With time, he kept eavesdropping and observing them and hearing everything that went on in the cottage, and he ended up understanding how human lives worked and also learning how to speak. Yes, can you believe that? Frankenstein became well-educated, eloquent, and a well-mannered individual just by eavesdropping and being around them. That shows how smart he is. So, with time, one day that the children weren't there, Frankenstein introduced himself to the old blind man, who treated him with so much kindness. But when the children returned, they were horrified and kicked him away, drove him away because they were frightened and thought he was disgusting. Frankenstein was hurt, and this just made him feel like humankind was his enemy for the way they were treating him. Suddenly, he started feeling very angry against Victor, his creator, for abandoning him and leaving him alone to a world that seemed to not like him. So he decided that he was gonna go in search of Victor. But the thing is, he was not only mad because he also realized that he couldn't just do revenge on Victor, because Victor was also the only one that could help him. How did he know this? Well, Frankenstein had found Victor's journal in a pocket in the jacket that Victor left in the laboratory. And in that journal, he saw how Victor created him. So he knew that Victor had to know how to help him. Anyhow, in his journey to find Victor, Frankenstein saw a little girl who was basically drowning in a river, and when he went to help her and was actually saving her, the father of the girl shot Frankenstein in the shoulder because he thought that Frankenstein was actually the one hurting her and drowning the girl. Frankenstein was hurt and enraged, and oh my god, how not? None of this is Frankenstein's fault. Why do we make so many judgments based on appearances? Literally, we make so many assumptions, and I understand how Frankenstein was hurt. From this moment on, he declared that he was the enemy of humankind and that he had to seek revenge because of all the hate and how hurt he was of all the harm humans had been doing to him. Basic just discrimination. Anyhow, so he set out to find Victor, to actually be able to help him. And I'm just going to do a parenthesis here to say many times we make assumptions, even unconsciously, about how people behave and who they are just based on how they look. And we are not correct. We need to get to know them first. This is what happened to Frankenstein. Frankenstein was so mad that on his journey to find Victor, he ended up killing Victor's brother, William. And then, when Victor retreated to the Alps, Frankenstein met him at the summit and recounted to him his experiences, and no, he did not hurt him. You are not gonna believe him. Literally, Frankenstein just asked Victor to build him a female mate. Can you believe that? Oh God. He literally just wanted someone to not feel so alone in this world, someone to share his solitude. And since he knew how Victor had created him because of the journal he had found, he thought that he could probably just build another creature like him. Now, Frankenstein promised Victor that if he did this, he and his mate would disappear and would not trouble humankind ever again. But he did say that if Victor refused to do this, he would destroy anything that Victor held dear. So, Victor went on to create this creature, this female creature. But before it was completed, he destroyed it. Why? Because he was afraid that he was creating a race of monsters. When Frankenstein found out he did this, he was enraged and horrified. He appeared in front of Victor and gave him a final threat.
I will be with you on your wedding night.
If you didn't get that, he said, I will be with you on your wedding night. Ooh. So, you're not gonna believe it. Yes, Frankenstein went on and first killed Victor's best friend, and then killed Victor's bride, Elizabeth Lavenza, on their wedding night, which caused Victor's father to die of grief. So basically, Victor was just full of revenge and decided that all he could do was destroy his creation. So Frankenstein drove him north through Scandinavia and into Russia, leading the way all the time. As they reached the Arctic Circle and traveled over the pack of ice of the Arctic Ocean, Victor, suffering from severe exhaustion and hypothermia, finally came within a mile of Frankenstein. But before he could do anything, he was not able to get any closer to him because the ice that they were walking on split. Oh God. Luckily, but not so luckily, I guess, a ship that was exploring the region found Victor and they rescued him. Victor recounted his experiences to them and told them about Frankenstein. They tried to save him, but Victor was way too weak and he ended up passing away. Sometime after, Frankenstein boarded the ship looking for Victor. And when he found him dead, he was overcome with grief and guilt that he ended up pledging to incinerate himself in literally the coldest and northernmost point in the globe. After this, he departed and was never seen again. Oh God, Brawlers, what a tragic story. I had no idea all of these things about Frankenstein. I mean, I actually think he has a good heart. He had a good heart. Like, yeah, he did terrible things, but at the end of the day, he felt so bad about it that he incinerated himself, literally. And also, all of the things he did was just because people were so cruel to him and never ever gave him a chance. What do you think, Brawlers? Do you think Frankenstein has a good heart? Anyhow, back to the game. How do you think Frankenstein's story is going to affect his performance in the game? Will he be a protagonist that helps others despite being hated? Or will he be an antagonist that is always seeking revenge against humankind? Boom, boom, boom! Let me know all your thoughts about this on our social media. And before we find out once we play the game, which I am so excited to do very, very soon, let's find out his abilities. Let's go! Frankenstein has a comprehensive ability of 79 and an attack mode of also 79 with a defense mode of 70. He can definitely be a dreaded monster in the game. Now, he has an explosive force of 75 and a control level of 67 with a support rating of 30. We can all say that Frankenstein will be an epic character that we will all love to summon. Now remember that you can see all of our characters and all of their skills and descriptions on the Eternal Brawl website, eternalbrawl.io. Why don't you go search now and start getting ideas for Halloween? Let me know if you choose any of our amazing, magnificent characters as your costumes, and send me photos. I'm dying to know. And Brawlers, don't forget to follow us on Twitter, on Telegram, on Discord, subscribe to our YouTube, on Instagram, so that you can stay tuned with all of our updates, because each time we're getting closer to the launch of our games and more surprises of our amazing metaverse. Thank you so much for watching. Happy day, happy week, happy weekend, Brawlers. Stay cool, Brawlers.